Good morning, YouTube land. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit fun. I wanted to change the oil on my vehicle, and I looked on YouTube to see if there were any comparable videos out there on how to change the oil. There are, of course, a gajillion of them, and I started to look through most of them, and boy, they were seriously boring. I had the guy that has the $1 million garage set up in his house, and he's even got $50,000 hydraulic jack and all those wonderful things, wears gloves and tells you how to change the oil by saying things like expedite the oil and adjust the pressure on the oil cap. Well, I'm just an average guy, and this is an average car. This is my 1995 Nissan Quest. This thing is older than my oldest child, which is 12. It's been around forever. And I promised the kids that I would keep it going as long as I possibly could. It's got 183,000 miles on it, and if I take it to 200,000, I told the kids that I would bury it in the backyard as a time capsule, and we'll dig it up 30 years later and see what it's all about, if it doesn't turn into rust. Best part about the whole thing is I get to have the kids riding their little bikes around while I'm doing stuff, so they'll keep me company. First off, let's start off by saying that I put the vehicle under a nice shade tree, because if you're out in the hot sun, you're gonna die. I do not have a $100,000 garage with a $50,000 lift. I've got average tools from an average guy. Let's start off with the basics. There's the engine. Things that you're gonna need to know right off the bat is this is the oil cap. That's where the oil goes in. This is the dipstick. This is where you measure the oil from. Now, a little bit of the basic rules. Number one, let's go around here. First things first, put the emergency brake on. Make sure your vehicle does not roll backwards. I'm on a little bit of an incline because I'm limited for space. Number two, I've got this rock. We're going to take our little rock, because I promised my wife I wouldn't let the car fall on me today. And she'll be out later to help me videotape when I do the stuff. Put that puppy right behind that rear tire. That way, if anything does go wrong and the jack fails or the emergency brake fails, at least we'll have a stopping point. The tools. A rag. Always have a rag. It's always a fun thing to have, especially when you're going to get dirty. Don't wear clean clothes, because you are going to ruin them. I do not have a $50,000 hydraulic jack. I have my 2-ton Harbor Freight $12.99 special, and that's really all you need. As far as tools go, that little guy right there is an oil filter wrench. You're going to use it to remove the oil filter. Now, I've got a pair of pliers because I'm going to do one extra thing besides changing the oil. I've got an oil pressure switch that's leaking. If you look at my driveway, you see various spots of oil. That's from my leaking oil pressure switch. A Sharpie, which we're going to use to mark things. Then I got a couple of wrenches because I'm not sure what size I'm going to need to take out the oil drip pan's bolt. It's the bolt that's at the very bottom of the drip pan that you're going to remove to let the oil run out. That little box right there contains my oil pressure switch. And then that Teflon tape is going to be used to coat the threads on the switch so it doesn't leak. A hammer and a screwdriver, because as men, we always have to have a hammer and a screwdriver. Of course, the old adage of, if it broke and needed replacing anyway, beat it with a hammer. There is the oil filter. You can find it at any hardware store. I decided to go big time this time. I'm not endorsing Castrol in any way, shape, or form, but that's high mileage oil. The reason that I've got it is I've got 183,000 miles on this puppy. It's a little bit thicker, and it just helps coat and make it happy. This over here is my oil container. This slides under the car. When I'm draining the oil from the pan, it goes into this thing, and it just makes life a whole lot easier. I've got these two old Arizona Teas gallon containers, because when I'm done, I'm going to pour the old oil into them, and then you can take it back to the auto parts store, and they'll take it and recycle it for you. A funnel. You're going to need a funnel to go ahead and put the oil in the car. It just makes it easier and it doesn't make a mess. One thing that I want to recommend is make sure your funnel's clean. I've seen people take funnels out of their garages and they're like 30 years old with cobwebs and everything, and you're pouring all that into your engine, it doesn't really like it. I've got a little bit of transmission fluid. Here is where we're going to get into what I like to do and what people say, well, you're crazy. Before you get started, what I always did, my dad did this before me, and my grandfather did it before him, is he pours a little bit of transmission fluid, and I'm going to remove the oil cap here. And this is where you need your funnel. If the engine is cold, go ahead and pour some transmission fluid into the oil crankcase. Now, I'm sure mechanics out there are going, what is he doing? Well, there's additives that you can get that you can put into the engine to clean up the oil sludge. And a lot of mechanics told me right off the bat, that's nothing more than just pour some transmission fluid in there. It'll lube everything up. It'll break everything up, get all the old oil to loosen up as you drain it. Now, if the engine is cold, and this one is not because I've already run it for a bit, run your engine. See what the rag is for? You clean up any loose debris. Run your engine, warm it up a little bit, get all that old sludge and stuff to roll around. If you change the oil while the engine is cold, the sludge and everything is going to follow you, stay in the engine and not follow the old oil out. Okay, so my engine's already warm, but let's say for the sake of starting from new, get that 183,000 miles and it starts right up. Run the engine, check out your temperature gauge, run it until it gets to its normal operating temperature. That's my normal operating temperature for this vehicle. It's been that way since forever. And notice 183,000 miles. Still runs like a top. Once your engine is warm, shut her off. You can let it rest for a little bit, but it's going to be warm. So step number 2 in safety, after you've done all the emergency brakes and everything, be careful when you take the oil out. It's going to be hot. Try to keep your hands away from it. If you want to put on gloves, by all means, wear gloves. Get your rag ready. Check your tools. Make sure you got everything by you so that you don't have to get up from underneath the car and go get the tools. Okay, the next step that we're going to do, we're going to start changing the oil. Get the car ready, and we're going to start lifting her up.